The galaxy was vast, dark, and quiet. Most species avoided the outer rim, calling it wasted space, dangerous, and unimportant. Signals rarely traveled this far, and ships rarely ventured here. But in this void, a tiny blip of a signal pulsed a distress call, weak and trembling, drifting across the stars. No one noticed it at first. Most advanced civilizations ignored it, writing it off as a dying star's interference or a minor equipment error. But somewhere in the darkness, a human ship hummed to life. The Icarus, sleek and rugged, moved with purpose through the emptiness. Its crew were not ordinary humans. They were Deathworlders, trained to survive what others could not. Genetically and mentally honed for extremes. Captain Mara Vera stood on the bridge, her sharp eyes scanning the incoming signal. She didn't need the sensors to tell her what she already knew. The distress call was real, and it was desperate. "Bring it up," she said, her voice calm but firm. The officer obeyed, pulling the signal into a clear display. The image flickered static, broken words, a fragmented alien voice, but the message was unmistakable. "Help. Trapped. Planet." Dying Mara leaned closer. "Only one crew will answer this call," she said softly, almost to herself. "We will." No one else in human space would dare. The signal came from the outer rim near the Krylon cluster, a region infamous for its rogue planets, gravitational storms, and dangerous alien fauna. Most humans avoided it, but not the Deathworlders. They thrived on danger. It was their nature. "Plot a course," Mara ordered. "Maximum speed. Prepare for atmosphere entry if needed." Her crew moved efficiently, every motion precise, every command followed without hesitation. Lieutenant Jox Corvin, her second-in-command, gave a nod. "Captain, no other species has responded. The signal is weak. We may be the only ones willing." Mara's lips curved slightly. "That's what makes us human." The journey was not easy. The Icarus navigated through drifting asteroid fields, some large enough to crush a smaller ship like a pebble. The hull shivered under the pressure, but the crew was steady. Humans had always been told they were fragile compared to the aliens they traded with. But Deathworlders were the exception, stronger, faster, and far more adaptable. "Incoming electromagnetic storm," the sensors warned. Waves of energy crackled across the void, threatening to fry unshielded circuits. The ship lurched, lights flickering. Mara gripped the rail, steadying herself. "Hold her steady," she commanded. "Nothing we haven't faced before." The storm hit with a roar, but the Icarus plowed through, its reinforced hull glowing under the immense heat. Crew members in the engineering bay shouted over the alarms, repairing minor damages before they became serious. Captain Jox called. "The signal is stronger now. We're close." Mara leaned forward, eyes narrowing. The faint outline of a rogue planet appeared on the sensors, a massive, jagged world with no orbit, tumbling slowly through space. Its surface was a storm of colors, gases swirling violently. The wrecked ship that sent the distress call was caught in its gravity, spinning dangerously close. "Prepare the drop shuttles," Mara said. "We're going in." Landing was the hardest part. The rogue planet's atmosphere was toxic and turbulent. Winds ripped across the barren surface, carrying shards of crystal-like rock that could pierce metal. The Deathworlders were ready. They suited up, armor reinforced with adaptive shields, respirators, filtering out toxic gases. "Remember," Mara reminded them, "other species might fail where we succeed. Keep your wits sharp, your eyes open, and your hearts steady. We survive where others cannot." The shuttle plunged into the atmosphere. Mara gritted her teeth as turbulence shook them violently. Lightning danced across the sky, jagged forks illuminating the jagged rocks below. The ship groaned under the stress, but it held. "Brace," Jox shouted. They touched down on solid ground with a shudder, dust and debris swirling around them. Outside, the planet was a nightmare of extremes. Jagged mountains, acidic rivers, and alien flora that glowed faintly in the darkness. The wrecked ship lay a few kilometers away, battered and broken, smoke rising in thin spirals. Mara surveyed the scene. No rescue drones. No alien teams. Just the man, the promise of danger. "Move out," she ordered. Stay alert. The walk across the planet's surface was grueling. Gravity was higher than Earth's, forcing every step to be deliberate. Strange six-legged predators slithered in the shadows, watching silently. The alien-wrecked ship loomed ahead. Twisted metal scraping against jagged rocks. Mara's crew advanced cautiously, scanning for life signs. The sensors detected faint readings. Aliens, trapped inside, weak but alive. Looks like we're the first responders, Jox muttered. Mara nodded. That's why they called us. Humanity doesn't back down. The first obstacle appeared. Suddenly a fissure opened in the ground, smoke rising from its depths. A creature half buried in rocks and shadow lunged at them. The Deathworlders reacted instantly. Mara rolled to the side. Jox fired a stun net, and another crew member distracted the creature while others passed. The predators retreated. Sensing strength they could not challenge. Every other species would have turned back, Mara said, keeping her eyes on the horizon. Not us. They reached the alien ship, its hull bent and melted in places. The door was jammed. Inside, they could see movement weak, trembling beings, pale and exhausted. The alien survivors were in shock, barely able to speak. Their technology had failed. Their weapons were useless in this environment. Mara approached carefully, hands raised in peace. We're here to help, she said. The aliens stared at them, disbelief clear. You're human, one of them whispered. Yes, Mara replied, a faint smile on her face. And we don't leave anyone behind. It took hours to stabilize the survivors, using makeshift stretchers and portable shields to protect them from the planet's harsh environment. The Deathworlders worked tirelessly, showing patience, courage, and ingenuity. They patched wounds, neutralized toxins, and defended against wildlife attacks, all while earning the trust of the aliens. By the time night fell, the sky above the rogue planet shimmered with storms and auroras, illuminating the Deathworlders' hard work. The aliens, still weak, began to understand what they had underestimated. Humans were dangerous, yes, but not in the way they expected. They were survivors, fighters, and heroes in ways no technology could replace. Mara watched the sky, exhausted but proud. We've done the first part, she said softly to Jox, but the planet is alive. I can feel it. The worst is still ahead. Jox nodded. Then we'll face it, just like always. Mara smiled. That was humanity, unbroken and unstoppable. They had answered a call that everyone else ignored, and they would survive whatever came next. The rogue planet rumbled beneath them, as if testing their resolve. Mara knew one thing for certain. In the darkness of space, only humans could face the impossible and emerge alive. The alien survivors huddled in the protective dome of the shuttle, their eyes wide with a mix of fear and awe. Outside, the rogue planet roared in silent fury. Jagged rocks shifted, winds howled, and the toxic mist crept close to their shields. Mara Vera stood at the edge, scanning the horizon with unwavering focus. This planet is alive, one of the aliens whispered, their voice trembling. It reacts to us. Mara didn't reply. She had felt it too, the subtle tremors beneath her feet, the way the wind seemed to push and pull with intelligence. But she didn't panic. Humans didn't. That was why they survived where others failed. Listen, Mara said finally, turning to her crew. The ship is damaged beyond repair. The survivors are weak. We need to find shelter and a way to get them off this planet. But first, we move carefully. This world isn't just dangerous, it's testing us. Lieutenant Jox Corvin nodded. Agreed, Captain. Let's map a safe route and avoid the worst of the wildlife. The team advanced slowly. The terrain was a nightmare. Rivers of corrosive liquid cut across jagged rocks, emitting toxic fumes that burned unprotected lungs. Giant crystalline plants pulsed with faint light, and some moved when approached, their long tendrils reaching as if to touch the intruders. Mara led the way, her boots gripping the unstable ground with the surety of someone who had survived far worse. Every step was calculated. Every movement mattered. The alien survivors, though hesitant, followed. They had no choice. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. Rocks fell, and a massive predator, sleek and black with 6 glowing eyes, appeared from the shadows. It moved with terrifying speed, lunging at the nearest crew member. Mara reacted instantly. She pulled out a compact energy rifle and fired a warning shot. The creature paused, growling, its eyes narrowing. Then, with a snarl, it attacked again. Jox. Mara shouted. Distraction pattern beta? Jox deployed a sonic flare, sending a wave of sound that made the predator hesitate. Another crew member threw a net, ensnaring one of its legs. Mara seized the moment, firing precise shots at weak points exposed by the creature's movements. Within minutes, the predator was down, unconscious but alive. Mara approached it cautiously. We don't kill what we don't have to, she said. That's human nature. That's why we survive. The aliens watched in stunned silence. They had expected humans to rely only on technology. Instead, they saw strategy, courage, and adaptability. As they continued, the terrain worsened. Acidic rain began to fall, sizzling the ground and sending fumes into the air. The crew activated their shields, forming a protective barrier over the alien survivors. Mara's eyes scanned the horizon for shelter, something solid and safe. There. Jox pointed to a cavern partially hidden beneath a jagged cliff. We can rest there. The Deathworlders moved quickly, guiding the aliens into the cavern. Inside, the air was less toxic, and the walls radiated a faint heat, keeping them alive. The aliens collapsed, exhausted, leaning on each other and their human rescuers. Mara knelt beside one of the survivors. You're safe for now, she said gently. We'll get you off this planet. But you have to trust us. Alien blinked, unsure. Why? Why do you risk your lives for us? Mara smiled faintly. Because humans answer calls that others ignore. Because we survive. Because it's who we are. Night fell, and the rogue planet's true dangers emerged. Bioluminescent predators slithered through the shadows, hunting in packs. The wind carried the scent of unknown chemicals, confusing the senses. Yet the Deathworlders did not falter. They set up defensive perimeters, using portable shields and traps to keep the aliens safe. Mara patrolled the cavern's entrance, listening to the whispers of the wind. She felt the planet testing them, seeing if they were clever, strong, and resilient enough to endure. Jox approached her. Captain, this planet is more than just a challenge. It's alive, and it knows we're here. Mara nodded. Let it test us. Humans are not weak. We will survive this trial, and we will protect these survivors. The following day, they began exploring the surface to find a path off the planet. Mara led the team across treacherous ground, encountering towering crystalline forests that shifted like living mazes. Some plants emitted spores that could paralyze or kill, but the Deathworlders adapted, using their knowledge of biology and chemistry to counter the effects. At one point, the alien survivors panicked when a giant, winged predator swooped down, talons extended. Mara acted instinctively. She shouted commands through a sonic flare to distract it and fired a calculated shot that grazed its wing. The creature veered away, retreating into the storm. You see, Mara said, addressing the aliens afterward, we survive where others fail. That's what makes humans different. Aliens began to understand. Their fear slowly transformed into respect. These humans were not reckless. They were warriors, explorers, and problem solvers, willing to face death where others would flee. As they approached the heart of the planet, terrain became even more dangerous. Rivers of molten rock blocked their path, and the ground quaked without warning. But Mara's crew adapted, using grappling hooks, shields, and sheer determination to cross. The aliens followed, their trust in the humans growing with each successful maneuver. Eventually, it reached a plateau overlooking a massive chasm. At its center, a strange, glowing formation pulsed with energy. Mara sensed it immediately, the planet's intelligence. It observed them, judging them. She felt its curiosity, almost like a living being questioning their worth. Its Watching us, one of the aliens whispered. Yes, Mara said, and it will test us. But we are human. We survive. The Deathworlders set up camp for the night, resting briefly but staying alert. Mara's mind raced. The planet was a living challenge, designed to push all who entered to their limits. Most species would fail, but humans, especially Deathworlders, thrived under pressure. The next morning brought a new challenge. A storm unlike any they had faced. Acid rain fell in torrents, lightning split the sky, and wind gusts threatened to throw them off the cliffs. Mara and Jox led the survivors through the storm, using their shields and survival skills to protect the group. Hours passed in relentless struggle. The alien survivors grew weary, but Mara's calm presence kept them moving. She demonstrated every step, showing courage and resourcefulness in the face of danger. By late afternoon, they reached a relatively safe area canyon with thick rock walls blocking the worst of the storm. Exhausted but alive, the group took a moment to rest. Mara surveyed the terrain, her mind already calculating the next move. This planet is alive, she said softly, almost to herself. It tests us, yes, but it will respect strength, intelligence, and courage. And we have all three. Jock smiled faintly. It's learning about humans, and I think it likes what it sees. Mara laughed quietly. It will. Humans are the hardest species to kill. That's why we survive, and why we will always answer the call when others flee. That night, as the wind howled and the planet rumbled beneath them, the alien survivors finally slept without fear. They had begun to trust the humans completely. Deathworlders had proven that courage, adaptability, and teamwork could overcome even the deadliest environment. Mara looked at her crew, proud. Tomorrow, she said, we move toward the planet's core. That's where the real trial will begin. But we'll face it, and we'll survive. Humanity always does. The rogue planet trembled beneath them, alive and watchful. But the Deathworlders slept soundly, confident in their strength. For the first time, the aliens realized that humans were a force unlike any other in the galaxy, fearless, adaptable, and unstoppable. The storm had passed, leaving the rogue planet quiet but tense, as if it were holding its breath. Mara Vera stood at the edge of the plateau, looking down into the vast chasm below. The glowing energy formation they had seen yesterday pulsed steadily at the chasm's center, a reminder that the planet's intelligence was aware of them. This is it, Mara said, her voice calm but filled with resolve. The core. That's where the planet tests life fully. Every step from here will challenge us not just physically, but mentally. Lieutenant Jox Corvin adjusted his gear. We've survived everything so far. I say we prove it to the planet and anyone watching. The alien survivors, though exhausted, nodded. They now trusted the humans completely. Mara's presence had given them courage, showing that humanity's strength was more than physical, it was willpower, ingenuity, and heart. The descent into the chasm was treacherous. The path was narrow, jagged rocks jutting out, rivers of molten energy flowing dangerously close. The air was thick with electricity, and the faint hum of the planet's energy was almost deafening. Mara's team moved in perfect synchronization, guiding the alien survivors carefully. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground. Rocks fell, and part of the cliff collapsed into the molten river below. The team had to react instantly. Mara shouted commands, and the crew worked in unison. Jox extended a grappling line to anchor the aliens, while Mara and two others pulled the last ones to safety. The aliens gasped, their fear turning into awe. No other species could do that, one of them whispered. Not like humans. Mara smiled faintly. It's not about strength alone. It's about adapting, thinking, and never giving up. That's why we survive. Deeper into the chasm, the planet's trials became even more bizarre. Crystalline flora released hallucinogenic spores, trying to confuse them. Energy waves distorted their senses. Gravity shifted unpredictably, pulling them toward deadly cliffs or tossing them into the rivers below. But the Deathworlders were ready. They moved carefully, analyzing every change in the environment. They used shields, stabilizers, and keen observation to avoid traps and misdirections. Their alien companions followed, learning by example. "You see," Mara said as they paused for a moment, "this is why humans are feared and respected. We can adapt to anything. We don't panic. We don't quit. We survive." The aliens nodded silently. Every trial had shown them a truth they could not deny. Humans were different, extraordinary, and unmatched when it came to survival. At last, they reached the center of the chasm, the core of the rogue planet. A massive energy sphere floated in the air, radiating immense power. The planet seemed to be alive in its purest form here, pulsating with awareness and testing. The temperature soared, winds swirled violently, and the very ground shifted beneath their feet. "This is it," Jock said, his voice tense but confident. "The planet's final test." Mara studied the energy sphere. She sensed the planet probing their minds, assessing their courage, intelligence, and teamwork. It seemed to challenge their unity, attempting to isolate them. "Stay together," she commanded. "No one faces this alone." As they advanced, the sphere emitted waves of energy, targeting each individual with visions of fear. Mara saw images of failure, of the alien survivors perishing, of the planet consuming them. The illusions were vivid, terrifying, and overwhelming, but Mara stayed focused. She shouted to her team, "This is not real. Stay together, move forward." The Deathworlders grasped each other's hands, keeping their focus, and began moving as a unit. Their alien companions followed, trusting the humans completely. Step by step, they advanced, ignoring the visions and the planet's attempts to break them. Hours passed in this struggle. Some members stumbled, their minds overwhelmed by fear, but Mara and Jox encouraged them, reinforcing their confidence. Every human member displayed extraordinary endurance. They worked as a team, combining physical skill, intelligence, and sheer determination to overcome every mental and physical assault the planet unleashed. Finally, they reached the core. The energy sphere pulsed brightly, then slowly began to stabilize. It seemed to acknowledge their strength, curiosity replacing challenge. The rogue planet, which had tested countless species before, now recognized that humans were worthy. The alien survivors stared in disbelief. It respects you," one said softly. "You survived its ultimate test." Mara looked at them, her expression calm. "It doesn't just respect us," she said. "It proves what I've been telling you. Humans survive where others fail. We face danger head-on, we adapt, we protect those in need. That's who we are." With the planet acknowledging them, Mara's team quickly worked to stabilize the alien survivors and prepare them for extraction. The Deathworlders used makeshift transport pods, carrying the aliens safely back to the shuttle. Every movement was precise, careful, and protective. They had endured the planet's trials. Now they ensured no one would be left behind. As they ascended from the chasm, Mara took a final look at the glowing core. The planet's energy pulsed slowly, almost like a heartbeat, as if it were satisfied. Humans had not just survived, they had proven themselves in a way no other species could. Jax turned to Mara. "Do you think it will remember us?" Mara smiled faintly. "It already has, and so will the galaxy. Humanity is not weak. We answer calls that others ignore. We survive where others perish, and we protect those who cannot protect themselves. That's who we are, always." The shuttle lifted off, carrying the exhausted but alive crew and their alien passengers into orbit. Below them, the rogue planet settled into silence, a living world that had witnessed humanity's strength and resilience firsthand. Days later, the survivors were safely transferred to a nearby space station. The aliens, once skeptical and fearful of humans, now regarded them with deep respect. They had witnessed humans adapt, fight, and endure in ways that no other species could match. Mara stood in the docking bay. Watching the aliens depart, their eyes filled with gratitude. One approached her, a simple gesture of thanks, and whispered, "You are different. Stronger than we imagined." Mara nodded. "We survive. That's all humanity ever asks, to face the impossible and prove we can overcome it. Remember this. The next time the galaxy doubts humans, remember what you've seen here. As the aliens left, Mara turned to her crew. Another mission completed. Another challenge survived. And the galaxy will continue to underestimate humans until we show up again. Her crew laughed softly, exhaustion mixing with pride. They were Deathworlders, humans at their peak. They had faced a living planet designed to destroy life, rescued the helpless, and proven that humanity was more than just another species. It was a force of courage, endurance, and ingenuity. The Icarus lifted into space, leaving the rogue planet behind. Mara gazed at the stars, thinking of the countless worlds that would doubt humans in the future. Let them. Humanity would survive. Humanity would thrive. Humanity would always answer the call, and in the silent void of space. One truth was clear: when the galaxy sends a distress call, only humans, especially Deathworlders, can face the impossible and come out alive. The stars stretched endlessly before them. And Mara Vera smiled. Humanity had proven itself once again. The universe would never forget.